The Balornian Confederation fleet hung motionless in the vast darkness of space, awaiting the impending onslaught from the dreaded Krinvax Empire. Admiral Gralnor growled a rumbling battle cry, his 4 eyes burning with determination to defend his people's colonies in this remote sector at all costs. Suddenly, the Krinvax warships emerged from the shadow of a nearby moon, raining down volleys of plasma torpedoes. The Balornian ships returned fire, but the ruthlessly efficient Krinvax fleet steadily advanced, their superior firepower slicing through Balornian deflector shields. In the thick of the fray was Lieutenant Jace Riggs, a human pilot on loan from Earth's interstellar fleet. He deftly wove his sleek X-12 Banshee fighter through the deadly barrage, locking torpedoes on an approaching Krinvax dreadnought. But just before he could fire, his ship shuddered violently from a direct hit. Shields down to 15%, his artificial intelligence Parthought warned urgently. Riggs' hands danced over the controls as he threw the Banshee into a dead spin to bleed off speed. Half his instruments flickered and died. Warning lights and alarms blared through the cockpit. Status report, he barked. Main thrusters offline. Weapons array severely damaged. Hull breach on deck 4. Think, Riggs, think. He squinted through the flash of explosions as one of the Balornian's behemoth carriers erupted into a brilliant fireball, spilling its guts of snub fighters and escape pods into the void. That's when he saw it. A cluster of Krinvax gunboats relentlessly pounding the crippled Balornian flagship into submission. If Gralnor went down, this battle was as good as over. "Get me back in this fight," Riggs growled. Venting precious missile exhaust, he reoriented the battered Banshee on an arcing trajectory to slingshot around the spinning wreckage of the dead carrier. Rerouting emergency power to reinforce what was left of his forward shields, he gunned what remained of his sublights straight towards the gunboat Wolfpack. With no other options, he resorted to one of the oldest human combat maneuvers: the bastard's reverse thrust. Bleeding off forward momentum, he rolled the Banshee inverted and burned at full thrust, allowing the gunboats to overshoot him. As they blew past in a baffled cluster, Riggs rolled back to normal attitude and raked the unshielded aft sections with a full salvo of torpedoes. 2 of the gunboats disintegrated instantly. A third, its engines sheared away, tumbled end over end in a cacophony of rupturing atmosphere. The remaining Krinvax ships broke off their attack on the flagship in confusion, frantically trying to reacquire their crafty human prey. Seizing the advantage, Riggs slashed back through their formation in a blistering curve, loosing bomb after bomb into their exposed flanks. Within seconds, the skies were alight with brilliant blossoms of destructions as the gunboats were systematically erased. On the Balornian flagship's battered bridge, Gralnor and his commanders watched the rampage with equal parts awe and disbelief on their multifaceted eyes. "By the gods," the admiral rumbled. "I've never seen anything like those maneuvers. Such ferocity." One of his tactical officers quickly patched in a visual of the lone human starfighter as it looped around for another pass. "Whoever this pilot is, he's single-handedly turned the battle in our favor." Gralnor clenched his mandibles tightly. "Get me a virtual link to that maniac immediately." A few tense moments later, Riggs' sweat-streaked face appeared in a shimmering holorender on the bridge. "This is Admiral Gralnor of the Balornian fleet. I don't know who you are, human, but your tactics have given us the respite we needed. I'm ordering all squadrons to reposition and implement your attack strategies at once." Riggs shot him a cocky grin. "Just following my training, sir. We humans call it solo wing harassment." "Well, whatever you call it, it's buying us the time to regroup." The Balornian admiral fixed him with his penetrating, multifaceted gaze. "I want you to personally relay your tactical instructions to my squadron leaders. We have much to learn from your species' combat doctrines." "It would be my honor," Admiral Riggs replied with a crisp salute. Over the next few harrowing hours, Riggs' voice crackled over every comm channel as he coached the Balornian pilots through a dizzying array of feints, defensive spirals, and ambush reversals. Confused and overwhelmed, the once unstoppable Krinvax armada found itself being torn apart from every angle by the swarming Balornian squadrons. On the flagship's bridge, Gralnor watched with growing elation as the tide rapidly turned in their favor. "I've never seen attacks patterned with such fluidity and improvisation. The Krinvax have no idea how to counter this. It's a very, well, Human way of waging battle, one of his aides remarked. Individualistic, unpredictable, high risk and high reward. Gralnor nodded, the admiration evident in his echo resonance. And that's why it's working. Our forces have been too rigidly dependent on fixed maneuver protocols and hierarchical orders from high command. This human's methods have introduced anarchy into our attack coordinates, and against an overly leveraged enemy like the Krinvax, that unpredictability is becoming a force multiplier. He watched as Riggs X-12 banked hard to slingshot around a cluster of Krinvax tri-bombers, its wing lasers scything through their unprotected underbellies. Scan all data, archivists, the Admiral commanded. I want to know everything we can find on human combat philosophies and pilot training programs. If we can even partially incorporate these tactics into our own regimens, it could turn the very nature of this war. Hours later, the last Krinvax ships had either been obliterated or forced to retreat from the sector. As the Balornian fleet regrouped to lick its wounds, a small ceremonial vessel pulled alongside Riggs' battered X-12. The hatch swung open to reveal Gralnor, surrounded by a full staff of honor guards resplendent in their ceremonial exoskeleton jackets. The Admiral swept his prime fulcrums in salute. Lieutenant Jace Riggs, on behalf of the Balornian Confederation of Planets, I cannot express deeply enough our gratitude and respect for the actions you displayed here today. Your bravery and creative thinking have saved billions of lives and helped turn a near-certain defeat into a decisive victory against our greatest foes. Riggs snapped off a crisp salute. Just doing my job, sir. More than that, I'm afraid Gralnor resonated seriously. You have shown us a new way to wage war itself. A more individualistic way, better suited to defeating an ossified military-industrial complex like the Krinvax. From this day forward, we of the Balornian fleet will be making a concerted effort to implement human-style combat training regimens across our entire defense force. We clearly have much to learn from your species' philosophical approach to battle. The Admiral swept an appendage toward a hovering drone, which projected a shimmering hardlight hologram of an ornate ceremonial blade. This is the highest honor the Balornian people can bestow upon a warrior who has turned the tide of a desperate conflict. The V's Kalsunvrath, the blade of perseverance and defiance. Yours is the first alien hand to ever grasp its hilt. As Riggs accepted the relic in stunned silence, the rows of honor guards raised their ceremonial staves and broke into a series of thunderous, reverberating chants and howls that shook the human pilot's teeth. From this day forth, the proceedings of Balornian military strategists would be forever altered, and on worlds across the cosmos, young pilots from 1,000 sentient races would find themselves placing their appendages on firing sequences for the first time and hearing 3 civilians' words. Like the humans do.